So in this video, this is going to be directed to those who are playing on North America and they want to know some formulas that they can do for Apprentice and Modulator. I'm going to focus around those two abilities, but you might see other abilities like Flints and Alters. You get those from Extreme Quest. And I kind of had to give some disclaimers. So obviously if you are new to Affixing, you don't know much about this, and you decide to click on this video, I advise you that if you are not familiar with a bunch of Affixing stuff, upper right hand corner or in the description, there's a playlist that I made talking about Affixing, some basic stuff you need to know, so you can understand what I'm doing in this video. Go ahead and watch that. It might take you a while, but it breaks down every little concept and thing. Now there's a bit more to it, but that will be further into the fodder making playlist that I have planned. Now, if you are watching this and you are trying to do an affix with these formulas, I'm going to state this. Proceed with caution and understand that this is not the actual end game abilities you will see later on, especially when episode 5 comes around, because of all the other abilities that the game has to offer. Modulator is okay because of what you guys are currently going through. However, this does not give you the best options because there's something called like Mana Reverie. That special high-end ability can give a lot more than the Modulator. It can give you plus 50 in SRT attack. It can give you a decent amount of HP and PP. If you don't want to go for Mana Reverie, for example, you can go for Elder Reverie, which can give a bit more as well. It's just that Modulator isn't the best. Now, Apprentice will still be used every now and then because it gives a whopping plus 40. But Modulator is questionable because there's so many other abilities later in game that can give a lot more stats. I already explained this in the temporary fixes and abilities that you might want to hold on to. For Western PSO2 and stuff, you can look in the upper right hand corner or in the description. But even if I tell you this and you still want to go through these different formulas I have for you guys, then so be it. I'll explain these certain things. Now this one involves a pop item, which is the melee and PP item. I decided to go over here and stare at the current AC scratch. It's this item over here. There's a second grade and a third grade. I don't think you guys have it yet. This is pretty much the basic one right here, the first type ever. So that thing gives how much do you give? I need to figure out how much that thing gives. I can't remember how that gives. Actually, I could easily do some quick math. If this gives plus 6 and then plus 155, if I take this thing off, that gives 30 and a plus 3. It's okay if you want to use it. It's not going to be expensive later on, but I don't know, you might want to sell it while it's still at a certain price. But yeah, these are the fodder pieces you are dealing with. Some of them you could ignore. I need to tamper around with it again. But this is for a whopping plus 100. Wait, hold up. Wrong one. This is for S attack, mind you, and PP. If you want to swap it around, you just need to change certain things like the might, change that to, what is it called in North America? I'm going to curse because I hate these names. If you want R attack, for example, you change it to the might to precision. If you wanted to go for T attack, you can go for casting instead. And for this pop item as well, instead of going for the melee and PP, you go for the range one or the technique one. And that's it. Modulator. Oh wait, also the flint, you change that to either like flint trio or flint what is it, flint trio or flint magia, depends on what you're aiming for. I'll explain how to break that one down. This other one I was toying around with, and this one has Apprentice Modulator, Might, and then Alter Arma. This is going to take a bit of manipulation, and this will depend on if you are farming Extreme Quests. You find Alter and Flints by farming Extreme Quests. Flints give you, what, the plus 20 attack power of whatever type, and then plus 3 PP. Alter, you go get these. Now, I could try to get another formula, which would involve like Arcs Fever and Arcs Max, but for some magical reason, actually better yet, instead of talking about it, I can showcase it. I don't know if this is entirely true, maybe someone can clarify it. But when I was toying around with a fixed simulator, when I have 3 of these, and then I have Arcs Fever, for example, and when I tried to affix this together, you can see that it can only allow either the Arcs Max or the Modulator together. I don't know if this is just a technical issue in the simulator or this is actually a rule. If someone wants to clarify, let me know. But apparently, yeah, the simulator is not allowing me to combine these two. If you can combine the two, then that will make a lot more better affixes compared to what I'm doing over here. This takes a lot of manipulation. But let me delete that. And once again, this is only like the bare minimum. I can't really go nuts and give you guys like crazy formulas because you guys are still stuck in the episode 1, 2, 3 era. Now for Apprentice, so you can go for something else like the Ultimate Quest Soul bosses. I don't even know what their English counterpart of their name is, because if I type in Bayari, I bet you they do not have that goddamn name. Yeah, they don't have his name over here. In the Japanese PSO2, his name is Bayari, but I don't know what his English name is on the North American side. So let me talk about how to make this particular piece. It should be straightforward. This is more towards units, mind you. If you want me to do weapon affixes, let me know in the comments. But I'm a unit affixer most of the time, so I'll emphasize on that. But yeah, some of this is straightforward, like this Apprentice with Might and Spirita. I put the Spirita there just in case if you wanted to, instead of go for that pipe item, you can go for Spirita 3, but it's not going to give you a lot in terms of the attack. It's not going to be plus 155. So there's a couple ways to go about this, and this would also play a factor into upslotting. It depends on you. It depends on how much you're willing to spend, how many items you farm personally, and how you go about it, and depending on the slot numbers. Now, this is just to emphasize on having the maximum amount of copies so you can get the maximum percent. Let's say you want Spirita as well. Or Spirit, apparently. I have no clue if you could get Mutation 2 as a normal drop over there. There is a way to get Mutation 2 if you have Mutation 1. You need at least, it's like a Doom Break and some other abilities. Like you need, you need at least 3 copies to try to go into Mutation 2 right over here. If you only have 2, it's not going to work. It will be able to help you transfer Mutation 1. 3 of them will give you the highest percentage, but you get Mutation 2 if you have 3. Then you can do that, and then you can make a Mutation 2. But if you get a Mutation to drop as it is, then you don't really need to worry about it. Thing is, though, this isn't going to be a actual unit piece here. Maybe it is, but if it's very specific, someone might charge you a lot more than you need. And then, alright, so this one would be you trying to upslot this, and most of this, once again, is at the highest percentage. If you do something like this and try to upslot it, you can gamble. Use a 30%. It's at 88. You could, actually no, that's a 40%. Yeah. Depends on how many X cubes you have. You can either do this or have everything at a 5 slot. I would advise you to make sure everything's at a 5 slot, so you don't really need to gamble with that. Because if everything's at 100%, it's fine and dandy. That's good. You don't need to worry about losing as much items. And all you need to do here is slap a 30%. If you have a 20, great. 30%, even better. But that's just to make this first fodder piece here. And if you do put a mutation over here, then you're set with the rest of the other formula too. You don't need to worry about doing something like that. And to make these other ones too, let's say fodder 1 and 2, pretty much it's gonna be, get this shit out of here. It should be this, but it's gonna be a bit simpler just because you'll just have like just Might and Spirited together. If you're able to find 5 slots of a Might and a Spirit, what you would want to do is have it at the same number. If you want to, you can gamble it at like a 4 slot to a 5 slot, but once again, easy percentage would be don't do that. Might and Spirit. So, since these two are familiar abilities, you can use Quartz Soul to your advantage. That should boost it up to 100 right there. And try not to go to this fodder slot here. And you can just put a bunch of junk abilities here. Okay, carry that over. Let me get an eye just in case if I need to change it up. Alright, so you got something like this. I'm going to leave it at a 4 slot for now, just to demonstrate that if you do plan to upslot this, it will be most likely stuck at a 90. If you got a 10% boost going on, that can go to 100. If you use a 40, that can go to 100 as well. It depends on what you want to do, how much resources you have. If you decide to keep this at a 5 slot though, everything's going to be transferable. Like, you don't need to even use an ability boost item. Although, I just remembered that you need Apprentice. This is just Apprentice Cell by itself, so you don't even need to manipulate anything. If you're able to find an Apprentice Cell with a Might already on it, you can just lower down the number of things over here. Like, if this, for example, has... Let's say it drops something like this, naturally. Then you don't need another copy of this, so you can save a bit of Meseta and not pay as much for the Affix service. So yeah, you can do something like that. Then you want to do this. Now you don't want to get a grade 4 right off the bat. I mean, you could, because if you decide to get a grade 4, well, you're gonna need a mutation too if you try to push for a grade 4. You can get grade 4 here and try to push for a Might 5. However, that's a huge gamble without a boost week. This is a bunch of formulas without a boost week. If there's a boost week, then I will most likely emphasize on that video during that time and have that boost week active. But without a boost week, you may want to just push for a grade 4 compared to a grade 5. Unless you're willing to gamble, then you alter this so instead of getting Might 3, you get Might 4. If you plan to get Spirit instead of the pop item, then get the Spirit at 4 as well. And when it comes to like doing it prior to getting this stuff, you actually want to get mutation 2 somewhere. But yeah, this formula here is how you make this stuff over here, and then you combine all this stuff so you can get Apprentice Spirit Might 3, which then leads up to this formula where it is pretty much fodder 1 and 2. Let me talk about these. You can pretty much put a Spirit and Might over here as well, depending on how you find these certain pieces with Modulator and Flints. But yeah, Modulator and Flints. The formula to make these two together, you're gonna need 3 copies of Modulator, 3 copies of Flints. And then a bunch of junk stuff. Now, there's 2 ways you can go about this, and you are gonna most likely not like this first method I'm gonna suggest because there's a risk. Understand that anything with affixing is gambling in a sense. So, you got something like this. To get this to a 5 slot, you can upslot it, but the percentage is a bit wonky. Because 2 of them are going to be at 78, 78, the rest is going to be 90, and this is without a boost week. And the first time I just did that failed. The chances are skewed. Now, you can use a 40 to at least pump the numbers higher and give you a better chance. But you saw there, like that one time, it decided to have both of these fail, which is like the worst outcome you want. So it'll depend on you and your resources. You can do this, or you can do the safe method and just have it at a 5 slot. Granted that I bet you that people that are going for 5 slots are, well, if you decide to buy this off the market as a 5 slot, it will be expensive as fuck on a unit piece. So you gotta figure out how to get like either the 4 slot of these abilities or get the 5 slot. You can use a bunch of 4 slots modulators to try to upgrade it to a 5 slot so you can save money, but at the same time, would you really want to do that while you can try to combine the 3, 4 slots modulators and then 3 4-slot flints to get it to a 5-slot flint and modulator. You'll need 3 of these to complete this formula. Once you do, you are set. You can combine all your abilities, and then you can get this thing over here. And once again, there's a pop item you can use over here. You get how to buy it, and then boom, you use 30%. Actually, that's the wrong one, because the one we're looking for is this one. Yeah, that one. You get 155 attack and 6 PP. Now, you do this 3 times for your unit pieces, you get a lot of attack and PP. However, just to emphasize on this, this is only temporary because flints and modulators aren't as great when later abilities appear. So let me talk about this second one. This second one is more of you using Apprentice, Modulator, Alter, and just a Might. This will give you at least this much power and that much HP. Obviously, if you want to get PP, you can swap the Alter Armor with a Flint Armor instead. This one is a bit manageable because, one, you're not really going to a 5-slot, you're going at a 4-slot. Secondly, the only issue you might have is just having Modulators and Alt together, but it depends on what you have a lot of. I would say that if you have a lot of Apprentice souls, what you can do is, let me make a different thing. You can gamble a bit at a high percentage. Just have like 2 copies of these things. I think Alter Armor needs 3 regardless. So you can do something like that, put like power 3 in here. Oh fuck, it's called Might. Shit, I hate this. Let's say it's... you don't really need a lot of them because you will use a 30%. And then... I mean, hell, if you have like a 3-slot, you can gamble and try to upslot that to a 4-slot. Let me demonstrate that. Once again, you get Alter and Flint from doing extreme quests. So yeah, it's not gonna look great, but use a 30%. Yeah, it's not gonna look great because of that upslot penalty. There's a risk. Now, this is on you if you want to try to do that. You might want to try to do it with another Apprentice so that percentage isn't that horrendous. Like, I think this is a bit... I need 3 copies of Might somewhere then. Where the fuck are you? I only have 1 copy. I did not realize that. So something like this would be a bit more favorable if you want to push it. You can use a 40% to push those numbers even further. It depends on you. But let's say you don't want to try to upslot, and you could do something like this. Everything should stay the same, especially if you maximize it. You can lower down some fodder pieces, like instead of... You can use a 30 here, but instead of using like multiple Mights 3s, let's say you have just 2 copies somewhere in your formula. This should give you like an 80%, which then you can use a 30%. Boom. You got it to 100%, which will then be like... It could be one of... No, wrong one. That's the 5-slot one. Could be one of your pieces over here, like this one, fodder 3. Now to make... Oh yeah, I did put a mutation there. So the other option you can do is like have a Might 3. I mean Might 4, which is a grade 4 ability. And this will give you a tiny bit more, like a +5 more to your power. It's on you if you want to do this, but it takes a bit more manipulation because you need to get a mutation 2 somewhere. You can put a mutation 2 on the Apprentice so instead of putting it with the Flint and Alter. So you can have it over here instead. So yeah, you can have a mutation 2 over here instead. All you need is a couple copies of Apprentice, so I have a mutation 2. Slap that together, I'll showcase that. But yeah, to get these other ones, pretty much just do the same thing like this one, but don't have a Might 3 in there. I mean, you can if you want, just so you can save space over here. I mean, fuck, over here. So you don't need to try to get Apprentice and Might together. Is whatever you can farm for. And let me showcase this Apprentice one. For that one, you would need to... 3 would give you the maximum. I don't think Mutation 2 needs 3 to get a good percent, though. No, you need 3. So you could do something like that. Have a bunch of junk. And then combine them. You can have it at a... If you're gonna do something like this, it is a thing. But once again, the percentage might be skewed into something you may not like. And once again, this is all without a ability. I mean, without a boost week. So you can gamble with this. It is okay, but you know, there's still a negative 14% chance for both of these to fail, or for one of them to fail. But that's how you get Apprentice with Mutation 2. Once you get everything, though, you do need Might 3s to get the maximum percentage without a boost week to get this to transfer easily to Might 4. And you need, yeah, 3 of these again, and then Mutation 2. And then you can make something like this, and then you are set. Now, this is just some of the extreme stuff that you could go for. Let's say you wouldn't want to use an Ultra Armor, but you want to use a pop item instead. You can use a pop item. Ultra Armor should be a bit cheap, though, over there. I don't know if people explained how you can farm for it. There was no video that explained how you can get a bunch of altars and flints, but you also need time ability. But over there in North America, PSO2, you guys don't have a time ability. Because there's like a rare drop rate boost to do extreme quests, which is how a lot of people were able to get flints and altars back then, especially on a weapon and or unit. There was another formula that I have. I'm trying to remember what it was. It was like a basic 100 one. Alright, shut up Facebook, I'm trying to think. No, that's Apprentice. I don't need Apprentice, I need Apprentice. So, carry you. Let's see if I remember that one. This was something I made for a friend of mine because it was easy for me to recommend it and just tell him like, hey look, you can easily craft this thing. Or fix this thing. Forgot. Damn it, I hate these fucking names that North America use. I think I would put... Let's go with that. Now, this isn't all the combos I can offer you guys. You will most likely experiment to figure out some of these just from looking at the things that I was able to toy around with. I think this is going to focus on the S attack. Yeah, this is actually, ooh, this is a better affix than I thought. So you can go for a Might 3 instead. That would help. But yeah, the thing about this affix is that it has no HP PP. It gives you decent numbers on other things, and it gives you a plus whopping 115. But yeah, you might want to change that masteries to something else. But if you were to go for something else, let's say if I do something like that, yeah, that's how you get your 100 attack right there. Hell, you can also get that if you decide to do that. At the very least, if you do like the Mastery 3, aka Ability 3 in the Japanese PSO2, it can give you plus 85 in the other two. But it also gives you some other abilities. But once again, HP and PP is non-existent with this formula. How can I explain this one? Obviously, the Modulator is not going to be tampered with as much. The Apprentice might be tampered with. If you are trying to aim for Might 4, yeah, you need 3 copies in the Apprentice one. You're going to need a Mutation 2 as well somewhere, but to combine these other two, it should be simple. So to break this down, if you have soul receptors, it would make things a lot easier, but there's no soul receptor for a unit unless they already programmed it into the game somehow, some way that I'm not aware of. But if not, then it's, yeah, it's pain in the butt to have just like 3 copies. I don't know how much it is over there in the North American market just to get like a unit 3-slot or 4-slot Apprentice. So if it's cheap, good. If not, then these formulas are questionable in terms of you trying to buy it off of the market. I would advise you to just farm for these stuff compared to buying it. And and so yeah, everything's 60. You could technically gamble most of this with, well, almost everything is 60. You can just leave the Apprentice as it is. If you have something like this, and if you don't mind gambling, you don't need to do a bunch of manipulation with this fodder piece. You want to have it at a 4-slot. If you want to try to gamble it at a 3-slot, 2 or 4-slot, that's on you. You do need to do some manipulation to try to get the highest percentage so you don't fuck yourself over. But if you were to leave everything as they are and just use a 30%, you can gamble with this thing. Most of it should succeed. It's a 90%, but still, there's that margin of error. If you want to use a 40%, though, you can. The best way, if you just want to use a 30%, is to have these Precision 3, Might 3, Craft 3 to be somewhere else in your formula too. So let's say you can do something like, let me just take that down. You can have something like this, have like a Might and a Casting together. Shouldn't be hard to actually combine these two at a 4-slot if you get some of them. So you're not dealing with like bad percentages across the board. You got 80, use a 30, you're good to go. Everything goes at 100%, which then makes up most of one fodder piece. Now, you can, yeah, if you do something like this, for example, you don't need to worry about having a position somewhere else. The position could be over here instead. So you have something like this that has like all 3 of the grade 3 abilities and then Apprentice. So, and then all you need to do is worry about having Apprentice with Might. This one is Apprentice with Might and then also Mutation for that one. I'm not going to take out the other abilities I already placed in there. If it can drop by itself, good on ya. If you need to craft it, then you need to do a bit of manipulation. So what, 3 gives you the maximum. So let's give you Apprentice, Might, Mutation, and boom. Then you use the 30%. So yeah, this is just like, there's this piece over here. Once again, this gives you, actually no, oops, wrong one. I think it was this one. And you don't need to tamper around with the modulator pieces over there, just have it at a 4-slot. So you can get this formula over here. Oh wait, you're gambling with this one. You can use a 40, but I would just say leave it as it is, or you can swap that mastery out with something else. This should succeed most of the time. But this thing can give you a plus 120 power, plus 85 in R and T, gives you plus 15 in all these other stats except HP and PP. This one is what a lot of endgame players aim for in the past during episode 3, at the end of episode 3 for the Japanese PSO2. This gives you plus 155 S attack and plus 6 PP. This is at a 5-slot, mind you. And then this one, for example, can give you plus 130. Well, that's you using a noble power. You can go for something else other than that, like an altar. So let me take this out. So if I were to just go with Alter, Modulators, and Apprentice, this can give you 125 attack plus 30 HP. You can swap the Alter with a Flint. You can swap it with that pop item. It depends on what you have on you and what you want to use. But note that Apprentice and Modulator, they do kind of have a bonus stat to each other because Apprentice so boosts the Modulator. But regardless, you still need 3 copies of Modulator to get the highest percentage. So over here, like, just one of these, and then Modulator. Then I might have to type up Apprentice again. So these two go hand in hand. You can see that it's at 80% without the Apprentice, so it's actually at... Wait, with the Apprentice, so it's 90. Without the Apprentice, so it's 80. But yeah, it gives you like just a plus 10 boost, so take advantage of that. That's it for this video. It's already at the 30-minute marker. Hopefully this video gives you guys some insight on what you can do for North America. If you want me to do other formulas, or if you want me to give you formulas for a 6 slot and a 7 slot, I'm gonna, or an 8 slot even, I'm gonna scratch my head and say like, why are you making a formula with these high things? Like, don't get me wrong, if you farm for it and you make it, great. But once again, Modulator isn't that great later on because of all these new abilities and what they can offer compared to a Modulator. And yeah, going for that high of a fix is just a pain in the butt to deal with. Because it's a pain in the butt to deal with. You gotta do a lot of manipulation, and you need 3 copies of it for it to give you the highest percentage. Unless you are willing to risk and gamble, and if you really want me to, I can try to formulate something, but there's so many abilities that you can use before it's like, what else can I use to try to up my attack with like 7 slot and 8 slot with the current stuff that's going on. It's gonna be hard. Like, I can tell you guys, like, yeah, you could do something like this, push it to a 6 slot by well, I need to think about it. That's the problem, because with what you guys currently have, you guys don't have Doom Breaks. You guys don't have... You guys got a Returner. You could put it onto this thing here, but I advise you not to, because, one, you're not emphasizing a lot on a bunch of other stats. There's no point to put a Returner in that. Like, a Returner gives you all stats. You want to put the Returner on something that can give you all stats, which is like the formula that I made, talking about how you combine Mana Rev, Ether Factor, Astra Soul, and whatever the 4th ability is, but most likely it's going to be an all-rounder ability. You want to combine those 4 together to emphasize on all those stats so you can be tanky and have decent attack. So, yeah. Like, you could shove a Viculum in there, but that's a bitch to work with as well. You don't even have Sentence stuff yet. You don't have Mark Receptors yet. It's gonna be hard to get a lot of stats with the current stuff you have. I mean, you can, but it's just gonna be a troublesome thing. But once again, if you want me to, let me know in the comments. These are some of the formulas you can go for. These are like old ones that involve Modulator, Flints, and Apprentice in this sense. Yeah, that's it. Also, before I end this video, this is already going past like the 30-minute mark, but if you want to ask some questions about Affixing, I do have a Discord up. You can message me on Discord. You can see the link in the description. Other than that, thank you guys for watching. Once again, let me know if you want a certain formula or want me to emphasize on something. I will provide a video for you guys talking about it. Once again, this is towards North America. Not a big fan of the name change, but, you know, this is just some old reminiscent stuff that I used to deal with back then. I helped a couple of people make some of these fixes. I was trying to make this particular fix, but then I stopped because, like, I left the game for a year, and then all these new abilities are out, and I'm like, oh, great. I just wasted my fucking money getting these modulators and flints and shit. So, yep. Anyways, peace.